So, guys, Aston Villa 0, Manchester United 0, full time from Villa Park on this Sunday evening. Is that goodbye? Well, for me, that is goodbye for Erik ten Hag. For me, surely that has got to be over after that absolutely waste of time. 96 minutes of an absolute fucking bore fest. I can't believe how bad that actually was. That was so bad today. Like, it doesn't surprise me. The results speak for themselves. I think Manchester United weren't just poor. I think Aston Villa were also very poor themselves. And obviously, I think their win over Bayern Munich on Wednesday night in the Champions League is massively overshadowed by their results. I just don't think Aston Villa really had the oomph. I don't think Aston Villa really had the quality to be able to beat Manchester United today, and which really they should have beat us if you think about it. I mean, the late chance on from Philogene, which was a great block from DIALLO, for me, that was Aston Villa's best chance to win the game. But from a Manchester United point of view, I think it's got to be goodbye, Erik ten Hag. I don't think he survives this. I think 8 points from 21 isn't good enough. This is our lowest points tally since 1989. And I don't think Erik ten Hag has got anywhere to hide. I think the team selection was a joke. I think the substitutions were abysmal. And I think the lack of using his big name signings again has absolutely come back to haunt him today. Manchester United's attacking quality wasn't there. You've got players throwing their arms and throwing their toys out of pram when they get substituted. And you've got certain players, again, who are not stepping up to the plate. And again, Manchester United didn't turn up today. I think they went there and tried to park the bus and try and break Villa on the counter-attack. That is all I saw. I think that was Manchester United's plan. Let's try and break Villa on the counter-attack. That is all I saw. There was no game plan, no setup, no tactics. I honestly think Manchester United went into the game today and they didn't know what to do. That was the vibe I got. I honestly thought that today. I think we went into that game, let's try and get a point. Let's try and not lose. And at least it will end, an abysmal week. It's not going to end the abysmal week. That was shocking. That was absolutely shocking. Our best chance comes through a Bruno Fernandes free kick and hits the bar. That is the best attacking opportunity we had on goal for the whole game. That was it. That was practically all we had in the tank today. And it's not good enough. We are currently 14th in the league. We are miles off the top half. We are miles off European football. And we are absolutely miles and miles behind the likes of Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal. I think Erik ten Hag has to go after this. I don't think he can question it. I don't think he's got anywhere to hide. And I think today it really summed up by the lineup he went with. I mean, a lot of people, including myself, was quite surprised by Johnny Evans and Maguire both starting at centre-back. I mean, for me, I think Erik ten Hag wants to get the sack. I think for me, that was the plan today. Well, if I lose, we lose. If I get sacked, I get sacked. At least we try to get a result. What else do you want me to do? But it's the excuses now that are starting to come into Erik ten Hag's comments, that he wanted to freshen the squad up. He wanted to rotate. Again, I don't know why he's coming up with those two bullshit excuses. Like, I don't know why he has to trying to save face. Like, just try and admit you don't know what to do. You don't know how to set the team up. You don't know your best lineup. You don't know how to get the best out your strikers. You don't know what wingers to go with. And I think for me, it clearly showed today that I think Erik ten Hag does not trust these players. I don't trust these players. I don't think the fans trust them. I don't think the supporters trust them. And you can't really blame us, because finishing 0-0 against Aston Villa, I mean, a lot of people would probably take a point at the end of the day. A lot of people would probably take a point. If you're going to take a point and you're going to celebrate it, by all means, I'm not going to stop you. But if that's the mentality, well, at least we didn't lose. At least we got a point, and at least we got something from the game. Then by all means, go and celebrate that point as much as you want. But Aston Villa were there for the taking today. I've never seen Aston Villa that bad ever under Unai Emery. I thought they were brilliant in midweek against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. I thought Aston Villa were absolutely magnificent. I thought they deserved to beat Bayern Munich. In the end, they got the result. They got the 3 points, and they've won 2 out of 2 in the new league format. But at the end of the day, Villa were there today to be beaten. Villa's quality was a no-show. Villa's quality was not there. They missed John McGinn. They lost Konza through an early injury. They brought Diego Carlos on, who also picked up a knock. You had no John McGinn, Duran on the bench again, and Ollie Watkins wasn't firing. And I think Villa defensively, they did concede quite a few chances to us that, again, Manchester United did not take. I mean, the only recognisable second half chance we had was obviously through the free kick, which hit the bar, and that strike from Marcus Rashford that Martinez had to tip over to his bar. But apart from that, where do you find a positive? Where do you try and pinpoint where it actually went well for United today? I don't think it went well. You've got Jamie Carragher waxing lyrical on how defensively solid we've been. He's given Johnny Evans player of the match, which I don't actually get. And I know we didn't concede a goal, and at least we kept a clean sheet. But if you're going to give Johnny Evans player of the match, at least give me some context of why he was given that. Because I thought defensively we were shocking. We were conceding so many chances in that second half. Our goal was getting battered. And Man United were just letting it happen. Because our back four, which again was completely and utterly imbalanced, because we lost Harry Maguire to injury. Looks like he's done his knee, which again, I don't think that's going to be a big miss, if I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Harry Maguire is going to be that much of a miss for Manchester United going forward. That will probably keep him out of the international break. And obviously, Konza went off injured today for Aston Villa. Looks like he's done his hamstring. So that should pull him out of the England squad for these next 2 games against Greece and Finland, which are completely pointless. Harry Maguire's done his knee. We saw no Mazraoui in the second half. So I'm kind of hoping that isn't an injury, because we've then got no fucking right back. And again, the midfield, we've signed Manuel UGARTE for 60 million, has seen no minutes now for 192 minutes of competitive football for Manchester United. He's seen no game time in his last 2 games. I don't know what Erik ten Hag's thinking here, but clearly I don't think he rates UGARTE. That's the vibe I get. He doesn't want to use him. He doesn't want to play him. He doesn't want to start him. And he doesn't really want to bring him off the bench. We spent 3 months chasing UGARTE. The midfield was getting absolutely run through in that second half. You've got MAINOO and ERIKSEN both on yellow cards. If either of them pick up a second yellow, they're off. And I can't believe it took till, was it the 85th minute for Erik ten Hag to finally make a change, and he brought MAINOO off for Casemiro. And again, I don't understand that. I really, really am struggling to understand what that substitution was actually about. I know MAINOO was on a yellow card, but why would you bring MAINOO off for Casemiro, who again didn't perform well against Porto in midweek, did not perform well in that second half? And again, another factor from that midfield, ERIKSEN has again played 192 minutes in his last 2 games for Manchester United, and Erik ten Hag doesn't want to bring him off. And I don't get why, because that midfield lacked so much defensive quality. It lacked so much attacking quality. Manchester 0-0. It was shit. Like, the midfield had no energy. The midfield was completely non-fucking existent. And we've got UGARTE, who we've paid 60 million for. It took 3 months to get him. And Ineos must be scratching their head today, because they're all there at Villa Park. And they've got to be questioning, what the hell is going on? We brought you DALOT. You benched him. You don't use Ahmad. You keep using ERIKSEN and Casemiro. We've brought you UGARTE, who is meant to be the new addition to that midfield, who we see the future being around to build that midfield from. And you're still using ERIKSEN. You're still using Casemiro, and that was meant to be Casemiro's replacement. And I know we might not have no Mason Mount, but Manchester United are clearly lacking integrity, are clearly attacking any kind of firepower, and you've got players again throwing their toys out the pram when they get brought off because they're playing shit. Marcus Rashford is an example point. He gets booked in the first half for giving a stupid tackle away. He's lucky he's even been kept on, or even lucky to survive that game for God knows how many minutes. He then gives away a stupid second tackle. He's already on the yellow card, and he's risking getting himself sent off. If Manchester United go down to 10 men, we would lose that game. And Marcus Rashford today is an example of how crap and how dreadful he has actually got. And Bristol City 0, Cardiff 1. Oh, great. But yeah, like Marcus Rashford is making an example of himself of how not to perform, how not to turn up. He did fuck all in that game, except for one or two decent shots against Martinez. And that is all we got from Marcus Rashford all game long. And I don't know why Erik ten Hag has got no balls to drop him, has got no guts to keep him on that bench. Somehow he has to start Marcus Rashford every single game. I don't get it. Like, he offered nothing going forward. Absolutely nothing today. I thought he was dreadful. And quite frankly, he was rightly dragged off in that second half. That substitution had to be made because I thought that left wing position, again, it was probably Villa's biggest threat against their goal today. And again, he had two decent chances and two decent opportunities to score, but takes neither of them. And again, in that first half, he was dreadful. The second half, he did absolutely fuck all. And he was lucky he was kept on as long as he was, because if he gets sent off and we go down to 10 men, we would have lost that game quite comprehensively in the end. And I think the substitutions, again, I think Erik ten Hag is starting to lose the plot. Like, that's 8 games in a row now that we've dragged Joshua ZIRKZEE onto the pitch. He's gone 8 games without a goal. He's not scoring any. And we dragged Rasmus HOJLUND off, who, again, didn't have his best game today. I don't think HOJLUND was that ineffective, really, to create any threat on the Aston Villa goal. I don't feel like a goal was going to come from him. So I thought Rasmus was quite lethargic, quite inconsistent on and off the ball. And you're starting to see the frustration in him. You can start seeing the anger, because I think when he was getting through on the Villa goal and he was being beaten by the likes of Diego Carlos and Henry Konza, he was showing the frustration. He was showing the anger because decisions weren't going his way. And I started to see what I see a lot in Bruno Fernandes. I'm seeing that anger. I'm seeing that frustration. I'm seeing him flap his arms about. And I'm kind of hoping we are not going to see that ever again from any more Man United players, because they're doing what Bruno does. He throws his toys out the pram. He throws his arms up in the air when he doesn't get the decision that he thinks he wants. And he acts like a spoiled little baby. Like, again, I saw that a lot in Rasmus today. But I would have kept him on, because he might have poached us a goal. He probably, in the end, could have got us a winning goal. But again, the attacking options were hauled off because they did fuck all. And that frustrates me, because I see Ahmad not starting this game. And I thought, you know what? Let's try and balance this front three up today. Let's try and go full attacking with the front three options. And he decides to start Rasmus and Rashford, which was probably the correct thing to do. But then again, what really gets on my nerves, and it frustrates me so much of Erik ten Hag, is that he keeps starting Garnacho on the right wing. And again, Garnacho is completely ineffective when he's on that right wing. He's completely insignificant to that team and that performance. It doesn't work. And the problem is, Erik ten Hag likes to keep using that problem as an excuse to cover up that we have to rotate, we have to freshen the squad up, we have to change things up. But if you keep playing players out of position that they know they can't do, why are they being put in that predicament in the first place, where you know deep down it's not going to benefit you and it's not going to work? Like, you would think logically from a manager of Erik ten Hag's calibre, he would have recognised by now that Garnacho on the right wing doesn't work. But he keeps on doing it, and it shoots himself on the foot, because when we've got no right winger that can actually create anything on and off the ball, that was an example of that game today. There was no service from the wing options all 96 minutes. There was no wing play, no service to the strikers, and nothing that was going to create Villa any problems into their penalty area or outside of their penalty area. Garnacho was completely useless, to be honest with you. Completely useless. And I think Erik ten Hag logically shot himself in the foot. And you can see Ruud van Nistelrooy, and you can see Erik ten Hag not agreeing with something on that sideline today. On that bench, you see them arguing. You see them both not agree on something. And then that's the cracks. That is, the manager is now falling out of his coaches because that both of them are not agreeing on whatever each other has said. And I think Ruud van Nistelrooy, he wants the best for this club. He wants to see this club win, and he wants to see this club score goals, because he was a deadly striker when he was with us back in the day. He was Manchester United's best player. And I think, he sees the frustration, he sees the lack of threat, and he sees the lack of goals. And he's probably trying to get to Ten Hag. Why are we not producing the goods? Why are we not scoring goals? Why are we not getting results? And I think the problem is players are being put out of position by Erik ten Hag deliberately to fuck us up on the pitch. And we're basically expected to get by. I don't think that's acceptable. Like, if it was a decision of my making, I would be sacking Erik ten Hag today. I would be sacking him today. There's no excuse not to win that game today. We had the better chances to score, and Manchester United did not take any of the chances they created. But again, I think the second half substitutions absolutely killed it. I honestly thought the subs were a joke. I mean, why Joshua ZIRKZEE was brought on in the first place for Rasmus is a logically indecisive decision. Like, he's gone 8 games without a goal, and you're probably wondering, what the hell is Joshua ZIRKZEE meant to do when he's so low on confidence? His game is shocking. He makes 2 stupid touches which fall to the wayside. And Jamie Carragher was absolutely spot on. ZIRKZEE was poor. Absolutely poor. And again, that is probably a confidence issue. That's probably a low point for ZIRKZEE of how bad a striker he actually is. His positioning up front is imbalanced. All he does is hold the ball up. That is all I see from Joshua ZIRKZEE as a Manchester United player. That is all I see is his hold-up play. Apart from that, he doesn't get movement in the box. He doesn't got that poacher's instinct that I want from a goal-scoring striker. And he ain't scoring. And if you've gone 8 games without a goal, that substitution should not have happened in the first place. And that is, again, on Erik ten Hag. Because if your goal scorer is not scoring, why are you bringing him on in the first place? If Rasmus was fit to play 96 minutes, then Erik ten Hag should have done it today. And again, it's nothing against ZIRKZEE, but if you're not scoring, you shouldn't be coming on trying to make an impact when there was no impact at all. There was no impact. And we need to start getting real about it. When our strikers aren't scoring goals, you need to criticise it, because they're meant to be there to do a job. They're meant to be there to put the ball into the back of the opposition net. And when they're not doing it, and Man United are getting desperate, let's chuck Joshua ZIRKZEE on. I don't get it. I really do not understand that substitution, because he did fuck all in that second half. There was no goal-scoring threat. There was nothing all game long. So I don't get why Erik ten Hag decided that that was the most sensible way to go down, to try and find us a goal. Joshua ZIRKZEE is not the answer to Manchester United's goal-scoring problems. I'm really sorry to say. He's really not the answer. And Rasmus is getting affected, because Rasmus is probably feel like, well, I'm in the same situation again I was in last season. I'm being relied on because ZIRKZEE ain't scoring goals. I'm probably their best striker at this current moment in time that can put the ball in the net. And Rasmus shouldn't have been brought off. And I feel sorry for him because there was 96 minutes in him to play today. And I don't get why Erik ten Hag is coming up with every excuse he wants to by saying, well, we have to rotate, we have to be fresh, we need to change things up. But it's not working, Erik. That is the problem. You've been brought players that haven't worked and are not benefiting the team. And quite clearly, that was on show today. That was massively, massively on show. From minute 1 to the 96th minute, that team has no balance. Because what annoys me, Martinez and DALOT should have started today. I don't get why Erik ten Hag decided to change that back four up, because it's clearly massively backfired. Because you've lost Mazraoui, and we don't know why, again. Mazraoui's been taken off, by the way. I don't understand that substitution. Is he injured? Or is it, again, we have to rotate, we have to change things up, I want to freshen the team up? Or is Mazraoui injured? And you think to yourself, you then lose Maguire, who, again, was practically useless in that first half. Absolutely did nothing defensively for Manchester United. I thought he was dreadful. I mean, his passing ability is dreadful. The only advantage Maguire's got is his height. And I've always said that. The only advantage Maguire's got is his height. And I think for me, probably, in hindsight, that was probably his biggest advantage to stop any aerial threat from the Aston Villa centre-backs if they had a set piece or they had a corner. But I wouldn't have started the games with those two at centre-back. I don't know what Martinez and DALOT are doing wrong. Like, Erik ten Hag was brought DALOT for a reason, to replace Maguire and to replace Lindelof. And DALOT's on the bench, which, again, I do not get. And again, the excuses from ten Hag is, I have to change things up. I have to freshen the team. And it's like, we've got big games coming up, but you're not playing for 2 fucking weeks. Like, can we just get hold of this now? We aren't playing any club football for 2 weeks because we're on another pathetic international break that no one really wants to, watch or wants to, see, because it's a complete waste of time. And you're telling me, well, we have to freshen the team up. We have to change things because we've got big games coming up. But if you're not playing for the next 2 weeks, you really should have went with your best team. And I think that was a massive, massive negative. He should have went with his best team. And clearly, I don't think Erik ten Hag knows what his best team is. I think deep down, Erik ten Hag is massively fucked off because certain players aren't doing what he's doing. And he's fucked off that certain players have been sold because they've had to fund other signings to make it happen. And Erik ten Hag probably feels like, well, I've got 2 hands tied behind my back. But you've had money, Erik. You've had plenty of money to get this team playing. You've had plenty of money to get these players performing, and they're not doing it. And it's been like that for so many weeks. The results haven't improved. I think we've gone 4 or 5 games now without a win. We haven't won since Barnsley. And it says a lot. It says a lot. And that summed that up today. Man United were absolutely abysmal. As well as Aston Villa, both teams' attack and threat it was a no-show. Like, it was really, really poor. From a spectacle point of view, that was shit from both sides. But I thought Aston Villa would have beaten us. I really thought we were there today to be beaten, and the file and the nail in the coffin would have been in Erik ten Hag, because I still expect him to be sacked. I'm still expecting an announcement either tomorrow or maybe Tuesday at the latest that they will sack him, because I don't think today was good enough. The players weren't performing. The players didn't turn up. There was no threat to try and win that game. There was no urgency from the players to find motivation to try and beat this Aston Villa team, who, again, were poor. They suffered a lot of injuries in that game through Diego Carlos and Konza. Their back four, again, was suffering because of those injuries, and they were becoming quite vulnerable. And when we got hold of the ball and created the chances we had, we did create chances, but they weren't on target. They weren't good enough, and we didn't take any of them. I mean, if that Bruno Fernandes free kick goes in, we win this game, and it would have been an unlikely result. But it's just very, very frustrating that Erik ten Hag is, for me, shooting himself in the foot, because, again, I think Garnacho's game is suffering because he wants to be out on the left. And when he sees Rashford out there and he ain't performing, Garnacho gets put on the right and is made to suffer. And I don't think that's fair on him. I think that's very unfair on a player of Garnacho's calibre because he's got the quality to be one of the best upcoming wingers in European and world football. And when you're putting him out on the right wing and his game is suffering and he can't produce the goods that Erik ten Hag is probably wanting to get out of Garnacho on the right wing, when Garnacho doesn't do it and Garnacho ain't producing and he gets put on that right wing, we see the lack of ability. We see the lack of skill. I see the lack of player that I know is in Garnacho because he knows I don't like it out here. I don't like it on the right wing. And that isn't fair on the player. I really find it disrespectful that Garnacho is being made to suffer because of Rashford's lack of form. I find it's very, very unfair. And I don't think it's fair on the team. I don't think it's fair on the rest of the players because how are you meant to get the best out of each other when certain players are being put out of position every game? And that is the problem I have. That is the problem I have with these players. Because at the end of the day, I want you to produce. I want you to score goals. I want you to play as a team. I want you to start getting results. And the players can't do it because Ten Hag is rotating and freshening the team up every fucking game. And again, it's just excuses because he knows he's going to get sacked. It's excuses because he knows his job's on the line. And again today, 8 points from 21. If someone would have told me that at the start of the season we wouldn't win our first 7 games, I would not have believed you. We haven't won since Southampton. Like, it absolutely sucks. We've not won our last 3 Premier League games in a row. Like, that is not good enough. Like, if this is our lowest points tally since the 1989 to 1990, then Erik ten Hag has to be gone by tonight. He has to be gone by tomorrow. Man United needs to pull the trigger. Because if you want more results like this, then the worse it's going to get. Because I still think we're fighting relegation because we're in the bottom half of the league. We need to start moving up that league because if we start getting caught, we're going to get dragged into it. And I'm not saying we're going to go down. I'm not saying we're going to get relegated. But where we've got that form at the minute, it absolutely stinks. And it stinks so badly. It leaves a smell. It leaves an odour. Man United do not know what they're doing. And I don't think Ineos know what to do. I don't think Erik ten Hag knows what to do. I think the club from top to bottom is an absolute joke. And it's not going to get any better because Manchester United are too incapable of making the correct decision. But Ineos are going to have to do it. Ineos are going to have to do it. Because at the end of the day, this can't carry on. We're suffering in Europe. The league's over already. And again, Manchester United are relying on the cup competitions to win anything. That's our best hope. And I think that probably is going to be our season. We're going to be relying on the cup competitions to go and win anything because we ain't winning the league. We're going to be lucky if we get into the Europa League knockout rounds. And I think the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup is our best way of winning anything because the whole of the season's gone. Especially today, it summed a lot up for me. There's a lot of players that don't give a fuck. There's a lot of players who don't give a shit. And unfortunately, a lot of these players aren't performing. Like, I don't know what's happened to Kobbie Mainoo. I don't know why Eriksen's getting the game time he's getting. I don't get why we have to keep using Rashford. I don't get why we keep using Joshua ZIRKZEE and Anthony. Like, if it doesn't work, don't make the situation worse. Because there was nothing from Anthony in that second half. Nothing. Like, I honestly thought the right wing had been solved when we brought Anthony in. But what did he do in that second half? Had one decent chance on goal. And that was about it from the whole game. Like, that ain't great. That ain't good enough, really. Let's be honest. We need the right wing to be doing a lot more than that. Because that is just a joke. It's an absolute joke. And I think, now it's a lot to go into. It's just very, very frustrating because I think we could have won that game. And Aston Villa were vulnerable. And I think in the end, this is going to end one way and one way only. I think Erik ten Hag is a dead man walking. I think Erik ten Hag knows. I think we all know. I think the fans and supporters know. I just think in the end, Manchester United get what they deserve. And I've also seen Rashford basically muttering to himself that the dressing room's gone and he's gone mad. Rashford described that substitution as mad. He described it as Erik ten Hag has basically lost the plot. I don't think the substitution with Rashford was a joke. I think the Rashford substitution was the best option, but he wasn't producing. So, in the end, I don't know why Rashford's throwing his toys out of the pram, because that was the substitution we needed. That was the substitution that was needed to try and get that left wing position a lot more better. And I think, again, that was the right substitution to make because Rashford wasn't producing again. So I don't know why Rashford, again, is throwing his toys at the pram thinking he's bigger and better than the football club again. I just don't think it's correct. Like, you were shit. You were shit again. And you're throwing the toys at the pram, basically saying Erik ten Hag's gone mad. I don't know why I've been dragged off. I don't know why I've been sopped off, because you did fuck all in the second half, basically. And again, I don't know why Rashford's moaning. Like, if you don't want to be here, fuck off. Like, the club will still be here with or without you. And no one's bigger than the football club. Not one player, not one person is bigger than that football club. And the players have got to learn responsibility. If you're not performing, you're not stepping up, then you deserve to be dragged off. I mean, he's lucky he didn't get himself sent off, because if we get sent off, like I said, we lose that game. But again, back to the midfield, Eriksen shouldn't be playing the minutes he's playing. I don't know what's happened to Kobbie Mainoo since he's come back from the Euros under Gareth Southgate, and Southgate started to use him. What's happened to Kobbie Mainoo? Can someone point out to me what is happening to Kobbie Mainoo? Like, he was an absolute blessing last season to have. He was probably our best midfielder the club had. He was producing week after week for this football club. His midfield performances were absolutely fantastic, and he was producing the goods. This season, he's come back from the Euros, and he looks like he doesn't look like the same player. I don't know if that is because of Southgate has absolutely ruined him, or again, the midfield pattern of play is getting ripped into, because Mainoo is having to do more than what he wants to do, because he knows he's got Eriksen behind him, and the midfield is having to be sacrificed because Eriksen's not a CDM. Let me just remind you that Eriksen is being put in at CDM. He's not a CDM. He's a centre attacking midfielder, and he's being put in at CDM, where that isn't his role, that isn't his job. And I think that is affecting Mainoo, because Eriksen can't do that job for 96 minutes. And it showed so much today that midfield is getting run through because of Eriksen's lack of ability to be able to play 192 minutes in his last two games. You could tell Eriksen is getting tired. You could tell that midfield was getting lethargic and getting run through. And Eriksen couldn't get hold of that ball in that second half. Like, you saw him pinning a few passes here and there throughout the game today. But when you've got that for, again, another 96 minutes, why Erik ten Hag refused to change the midfield is delusional. Like, that makes no sense, because you've got a 60 million midfielder in UGARTE sat on that bench doing fuck all for the last two games, and I don't understand it. UGARTE was meant to be the midfielder that changed everything for the midfield situation for the future of this football club. When he doesn't play the last two games, that must be a massive kick in the teeth, because you've been brought here for quite good money. You're probably our most expensive signing of the summer, and you've not been used for the last two games. If I was UGARTE, I'd be knocking on that manager's door's office and fucking demanding, what the fuck is going on? You brought me here. I was meant to be one of the main midfield starters, and now you don't use me. I think Erik ten Hag's fucked off McTominay's gone, and he didn't want UGARTE. And for me, this is going to end up like the Donny van der Beek situation. It's going to be a 2.0 again. We don't use him, and we're going to end up getting rid of him, and we're going to end up having to sell him at a loss. That is the vibe I'm getting. He doesn't want to use UGARTE, but UGARTE is amazing. Like, UGARTE is the midfielder that I believe makes that CDM role a lot more securable, a lot more balanced, a lot more defensively aware. Because Eriksen can't do it. He's not a CDM. He's not someone who wants to win. He's a midfielder wants to get the ball forward. He's not a midfielder who's trying to win the ball back off the opposition players. And Erik ten Hag keeps believing in Eriksen that can do that role. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, Erik, the midfield is getting run through. You're refusing to change it up. And you're more looking at the attack and the defence to try and get a result. And I think that's naive. That's all I've seen from the last 2 games. He's tried to look at the attack and the defence to try and get us a result. Why he's refusing to change that midfield up and bring UGARTE on, it makes no sense. Because what if Mason Mount comes back from injury? Because he's out injured again, by the way, let me tell you. And he is still out injured. Why is that midfield not being used properly when you've got a quality player like UGARTE, who is going to transform this midfield and make it better going forward for the future? And you've got Eriksen and Casemiro ahead of UGARTE. I don't understand it. I really do not understand why UGARTE is not getting a game time. And I'm going to go back to a few weeks ago, like I said to you. Erik ten Hag came out of the comment and said, I'm not Harry Potter, and it could take UGARTE weeks or months to get up to speed with the way things are at Manchester United. He made a good impact against Barnes in the Carabao Cup. He was amazing. He was probably our best standout player. And all of a sudden, since then, he's hardly been getting game time. He's hardly kicking the ball. He's basically warming the bench again. And again, I would have started UGARTE today because that midfield looks so imbalanced by putting in Eriksen at CDM. And then MAINOO and Fernandes are both games are suffering because they're not just doing their roles, they're doing Eriksen's roles well because Eriksen is on his knees. Eriksen is knackered. Eriksen is tired and he can't play 96 minutes back-to-back games. That isn't good enough from a manager to spot that vulnerability in the midfield that is lacking energy, is lacking any kind of charisma, and is lacking any kind of fuel in the tank to keep going, to try to keep playing through the barrier of you've played 192 minutes in the last 2 games. You're going to have to keep going. I don't really want to take you off. There's something going on there. There really, really is. And I think Ineos will have to tell ten Hag, we've brought you UGARTE. You need to start using him because otherwise this is going to end up with a Donny van der Beek situation. We're going to end up having to sell him eventually at a loss. And he's going to go and play for another club and he's going to be fucking phenomenal. And I feel sorry for UGARTE. But I also feel sorry for Ahmad. I don't know why Ahmad didn't start today. I really don't get it. And a lot of people were speaking, well, the last time Ahmad didn't start for Manchester United, we lost the game 3-0. I would have started Ahmad today. I think that would have been the most logical substitution or the most logical starting position is to start Ahmad on that right wing who can create chances, who can get the ball into the box, who can get at that Villa back four with his speed and his precision. But no, I'm going to completely neglect Amad Diallo, and I'm not going to use him. Again, has not played 96 minutes today. I don't get it. Like, he's meant to be the winger that we want to put all this trust in and we want to give a new contract to, and now he doesn't want to use him. Like, I don't get what he did wrong against Porto. I really don't. Like, someone from somewhere has got to say, ten Hag, what the hell is going on? You've got players that can actually do you a job, who can actually try and get you a result or a win today. Because Villa were there defensively. Their midfield lacked anything because they had no Kamara, they had no John McGinn, and they had Tielemans and Ross Barkley. That midfield of theirs wasn't exactly that great. As for their back four, you look at their injuries. Konza and Douglas and Diego Carlos, if you look at 2 of them and you can target that vulnerability, you might get in behind that Villa back four and you might create yourself a goal scoring chance and you might take it. You might score or you might miss. But at least target the vulnerability areas of what Aston Villa had today. And I think today, where it went wrong for Villa, I think all that excitement and all that buzz from beating Bayern Munich went out the window and they were tired. I think they put so much into that Bayern Munich game that the energy levels were on the floor. The energy was out the tank. Aston Villa ran out of fuel today because they were playing two big teams in back-to-back games. I think maybe the Champions League pressure and the Champions League momentum and the amount of game time they're having to play now it probably hit Villa today in a negative point where you didn't get the best out of Ollie Watkins. I thought, that would probably be United's biggest threat today would be through Ollie Watkins. And I did say he gets beyond that United back four, he would have scored. And that's what feared me when we started Johnny Evans and Maguire. If Ollie Watkins gets in behind these two, we are going to have a problem and he's going to end up getting Villa a few goals. But again, wasn't at his best today. But I think where it then went wrong for Villa in the second half, I think for me, they normally take Ollie Watkins off between the 60th and the 65th minute to bring John Duran on. And I think where it went wrong for Unai Emery, they didn't really have any wing players there. I think Leon Bailey was atrocious for Villa today. And again, I rate Leon Bailey, but again, there was a lack of service from him to Ollie Watkins. And I think what Unai Emery tried to do, he took Leon Bailey off and played Duran and Ollie Watkins as the main two centre attacking strikers. I don't think that worked. I don't think that benefited Villa at all today, really. But you can see the threat John Duran is. You can see the quality of play that is in there. You can see the way he picks up the ball and the way he can just motor and move past the opposition players. And he's got the ability to create quite a good few moments. But I think playing them as the two central strikers together, I don't think worked for Villa today. I think Villa really, really struggled to get Ollie Watkins into the game. I think they really struggled to get Duran into the game when he came on in the second half. And I think really they brought him early on. They brought him on in the 60th minute. But I think maybe the substitution for him for Leon Bailey was probably not exactly what Unai Emery probably would have wanted today. I think they missed the midfield maestro of John McGinn because John McGinn is probably their best midfielder at the club, as well as Yuri Tielemans. I don't think Tielemans and Ross Barkley worked together that well for Villa today. I don't think it was that great for Villa. I think Villa lacked quite a lot of creativity through their midfield to get the ball forward to their strikers. I think obviously their injuries wouldn't help them. They've lost Diego Carlos and Konza to injuries. It looks like Konza's done his hamstring. And again, that probably will be a positive for Villa going forward because that will rule him out for England, which Villa probably wouldn't have too much to complain about because at least it will keep Konza back from the international duty. And he's not going to miss much. We're playing fucking Finland and Greece. Like England aren't going to lose. So I think maybe, England are going to have to look elsewhere. So that didn't help Villa today. I think once Konza went off and Diego Carlos went on, Man United started to attack and get into that bit of Villa back four. I think because Konza brings Villa quite a lot of stability, he brings them quite a lot of defensive awareness, and he's able to get out the back. He's able to move through the sections of the pitch through to the centre back. He can get himself into that midfield. He can get himself further forward. But I think once Konza went off, the Villa game plan went out the window, and I think really Villa struggled all game. The quality was just simply not there. And I think, you've got a good crosser of the ball in Luca Dean at left back, but really his service today was shocking. I just couldn't believe how bad Villa were. But from a Man United point of view, it was an absolute ball fest, really. Like I can't find any positives from today's game. I thought, we've kept a clean sheet, we've got a point. But if you want to celebrate that, then be my guest. But I can't celebrate a point. I can't celebrate a clean sheet. We created nothing. The attacking options weren't there. The attacking opportunities we didn't create enough. We didn't produce a lot. We produced a lack of service from the wing options to the striker. Again, wingers are both selfish. But again, when you've got Garnacho out of position, Rashford incapable of being a left winger, and then you've got two strikers that aren't scoring goals, Man United have got their own problems again, which we were trying to solve. We were trying to solve our goal scoring problems, and it looks like it's come to fruition again that Man United have got another goal scoring problem. We're not scoring enough goals, and it's very, very frustrating that we could have won that game today. I mean, I wish the Fernandes free kick would have gone in. That would have been a bit of an icing on the cake to come away with those 3 points today, and it would have moved us up into the top half or on the cusp of the top half of the table. But we're still sat in 14th, and I don't think Ineos are going to look at that thinking, well, we can't be sat there all season. How long is it going to take? Erik's not using the players we brought him. He doesn't want to use UGARTE. He started DALOT and MARTINEZ on the bench, which was probably quite a naive move. If they've lost Mazraoui through injury, which I'm praying it isn't, then where's the right back for the rest of the season? Because of what happens then, we're going to have to start Lindelof at right back and keep DALOT at left back. That ain't going to work going forward. I don't think Lindelof had a good game. I think Lindelof was lucky to keep himself on the pitch, to be fair, because he makes a stupid tackle in the second half and then makes a stupid tackle again and gets himself booked. And then Villa are already on the counter-attack. And then is it John Duran he brought down when he already made an initial foul from the first tackle he made, and he brings John Duran down. You just think to yourself, I mean, that's an opportunity for Villa to get the ball inside our penalty area and potentially score a late winner. Don't concede a stupid set piece from outside your own area, because that is just a naive thing to do. But again, I think John Duran probably would have got through away from Lindelof and probably would have produced the goods for Villa to get the result that they were crying out for. I mean, in the end, Villa had the best chance to score. If Diogo Dalot wasn't in that left-back spot, and again, I've been massively critical of Dalot not being in his left-back spot against Porto and especially against Spurs. If Dalot wasn't at left-back in that spot today to block that Philogene shot, which came off Dalot's back, if Dalot wasn't there, Philogene's got a good chance to score, and he probably would have taken it if Dalot wasn't there, because that left back spot would have been completely exposed again. And that would have been on Dalot, because if you're not covering your left back spot, then Philogene would have scored and we would have lost this game. But I still think this is goodbye. I think Erik ten Hag, the sacking's been calling for weeks. And I think that's what's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised by at least tomorrow morning, or at least by tomorrow afternoon, that Man United have sacked Erik ten Hag. I'll be surprised if they haven't, but I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised if they don't sack him. I wouldn't be surprised if they do, because I think it's been coming for weeks. I think they've looked at Liverpool, they've looked at FC20, they've looked at Tottenham, they've looked at Porto, and they would have looked today. That game was winnable, and Erik ten Hag didn't know what to do. And when you've got him and Ruud van Nistelrooy arguing on the bench together as the coaches and the manager, there's clearly a relationship breakdown there. And I think probably Ruud van Nistelrooy will probably be given the interim job till the end of the season. But that's not what I want, because, again, my fear is it will go well under Ruud. They'll end up giving him the job and give it a 2 years' time. We're going to be in exactly the same position again. We need a manager who's going to be allowed to be given full authority to sign who he wants, keep who he wants, and get rid of who he wants. But I don't think Ineos will let that happen, because Ineos will want control. Ineos will want the structure being stuck to. But Ineos might have to change that up. And I think they might have to. And I think today is the D-Day for Erik ten Hag. I think this is goodbye. I think it's over for me. I think it'll be over from most Man United fans and supporters tonight, because United had opportunities to win that game and we didn't take them. But I think, a lot of people will take a positive. Oh, we got a point. We didn't lose. We thought we were going to lose today. We thought we were going to get hammered. We thought it was going to be at least 4-5 or 6-0 to Aston Villa. We expected to lose that game quite heavily, but in the end, we haven't lost. We got a point, but I can't get excited by that. United had opportunities to get the game done and get the game won, but again, when you've got players now questioning the manager's substitutions, and you've got players winning again, and player power is basically come to fruition again under another manager, I'm not surprised we're in this mess. I'm not surprised. I've been seeing this come in for weeks. I think the Liverpool result for me was when I started officially being an Erik ten Hag out, and I think he'll be gone tomorrow. I think Man United will trigger the pull, and they will sack the manager. And I think it's come in. So I think if you was a Man United fan and you're a Man United supporter, I would brace yourself, because I think tomorrow it will be official that Erik ten Hag's gone, because that wasn't good enough today. We didn't look like we wanted to win that game, and we didn't have the opportunity to do in the second half. We've got wingers that are selfish. We've got strikers who can't score goals. We've got a world-class midfielder in UGARTE who doesn't even get picked or selected or even used in the game. And we've got a back four that is containing Maguire, Evans and Lindelof again. And we thought that was meant to be brought to a halt. Yeah? Okay. I thought that was meant to be brought to a halt. I thought the days of Lindelof, Maguire and Evans was going to be over. But again, that's come back into fruition again. And that's on Erik ten Hag for not starting your best centre-back partnership today. And what are you meant to do? But yeah, Aston Villa 0, Manchester United 0. For me, this is goodbye Erik ten Hag. It's over from me. I'm officially done with Erik ten Hag. He has to be sacked tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed this live reaction. Please hit the like button and share button. Please keep subscribing to the channel, United Red Devils 20 on YouTube. Share the video. Hit the tweet button, hit the retweet button. Remember to always remember the notification bell. If you put that bell on at all times to receive all this dedicated content that I've got planned for the rest of 2024. We're going to be getting the new Lego Horizon Adventures game. We've got more EAFC 25 career mode with Manchester United and Bromley coming up. And yet, we're now on another pathetic 2-week international break where England are basically playing 2 BTECs in Greece and Finland in the UEFA Nations League, which England will probably win. But again, we're basically playing a BTEC, Andorra and San Marino, another pathetic 2-week international break. But don't be surprised if I am back here tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow morning announcing that Manchester United have officially sacked Erik ten Hag. So I think it's coming. I think it will be tomorrow that we will get that announcement that Manchester United have sacked Erik ten Hag. But let's see what happens. I'll be surprised if they didn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But like I said, enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Be nice. Be kind. You're all legends. You're all legendary. I'll see you on the next one.